Hello and welcome to my inspirational stories. Today I have with me Paul Boggie, who is the proud author of Heroin to Hero. Paul has a very interesting story and I wanted to get him on the podcast today because it's a fascinating story. As my listeners know, I want to inspire other people. So anyone that's gone through adversity and come through successfully the other side, I want to be speaking to them so that I could be inspiring others and my guests can be inspiring others. So, Paul, I'm just going to hand over to you for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your book. I'm aware that you're donating the proceeds to charity. You can tell us a little bit about that. And we'll just have a little conversation and I'll get to know you a little bit more as well. So thank you for coming along today, Paul. I really appreciate it. And if you could just introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me on here, Yvonne. I really do appreciate it. I am, as Yvonne said, the proud author of Heroin to Hero. This is my book that I wrote at the beginning of lockdown, and I'm donating all the profits to homelessness in Scotland. The book is about my whole life. It goes back to when I was younger, things that I got up to, my run-in with heroin, my heroin addiction, which lasted for 7 years, and the mental health issues that I got as a result of my drug abuse. I became suicidal, and then I attended a course about the mind, the power of the mind. I applied what I had learned to my heroin addiction, and I'm now 17 years clean of heroin. No relapses, never came close once, and it was all thanks to that course that made me understand about the mind, that my life and everybody's life is a choice. Decisions that I make in life are a choice, and if that's true, which I often question myself back then, is that true? Let's try it. When I tried it, and I'd done a little bit of self-talking, and I asked myself the question if it's true, and all I wanted was not to be a heroin addict. So if it is a choice, I choose not to take heroin ever again. And instantly, I'd done it, and I knew that I would never touch heroin till the day I die. 17 years is a lifetime in itself. So I went into recovery. I put the weight back on, started eating and started exercising. I flipped my addiction from heroin to running. I was Forrest Gump in it all around Edinburgh. Whenever I felt sad, angry, anxious, bored, I put my running trainers on, put the music in my ears, and I went out for a jog or a run or a walk, and came back home, felt much better for it. So that continued for years. I got stronger, I got fitter, I got a job again, got a girlfriend again, all these things that were just a dream back when I was on drugs, complete dreams. And I started to achieve these small things through this. It's a choice. I choose to get a job. I choose to get fit. I choose to go to the gym every day. And I've done it. And, I started boxing and I started lifting weights. And as a few years passed, things were on the up. Things were amazing. I turned my whole life around. Family were proud of me for kicking the drugs. But for me, something was still missing. I always felt it. I had this itch that I couldn't quite understand. What am I going to do with my life? I felt like I had a calling, didn't know what it was. I looked into joining the fire brigade, possibly the police. And then I was sitting in the staff canteen on my break, and then I seen the advert for Army Be the Best. I'm 29 years old, almost 30, and I'm too old to join the army, or so I believed. this is the first part of destiny, I believe, when I look back now, is that I think it was 6 months prior. The cut-off age for joining the army used to be 27. So here I am sitting in a supermarket having my lunch in the staff canteen, and I'm too old to join the army. My days to be a soldier have been and gone. I had just been changed and then moved the age to 32. So I didn't know this. I did not know. However, I'm in Edinburgh, Army recruitment office. I join the army. Obviously, I'll put it in a nutshell for you, Yvonne, because I do talk for Scotland. Join the army, Scots Guards. I pass out down in Catterick. I get sent to London. Then I'm outside Buckingham Palace, red tunic on, bearskin, rifle, and I'm standing in Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, Tower of London, St James's Palace. I'm standing at these places, and it's quite remarkable. It's obviously standing on guard like that. You've got hours to spend with your own time to reflect. And remember being on Buckingham Palace and moving. Obviously, guardsmen do stand statue-like, but we are allowed to move. And I'll never forget moving briefly. Excuse me. And the cameras just lit up on the iron fence, flashing everywhere, just because I'd moved. And I remember standing there and thinking, like a few years ago, the police would have moved me on because I was obviously on heroin and I would have looked like an unsavoury character. I probably would have got moved on. Now I'm on the other side of the iron grate, actually in Buckingham Palace, guarding the royal family and stuff. So, like, strange, you know, and it was like, how, you know, when I think and reflect on how it all came about, it was all about that course and about the mind. That's what allowed me to achieve what I did. I went back to Catterick, started my pre-deployment training to go to Afghanistan on my first tour. I was up in Edinburgh, as I did most weekends, seeing the family. Then my army friend was driving back down to Catterick on a Monday morning, crashed the car. I broke my back, I crushed my spine. I'm lying in a field in the snow, waiting 40 minutes for an ambulance or something to arrive. Still believed I was going to Afghanistan. I didn't know I broke my back and crushed my spine. I was in a lot of pain, but I was like, I'm still going. Lying in hospital in Newcastle, the army come to visit me, my sergeant major and officers and stuff, and my parents are there, and I'm upset. My mum's upset. Everybody's upset, and I'm like, sir, I'm still going to Afghan, aren't I? I'm still going to Afghan, and they're like, Paul, just you concentrate on your recovery. Like, yeah, but I'm still going to go in 2 months' time. I'm still going to go, sir, aren't I? I'm still going to go. Not realistic, of course, but so unfortunately, it wasn't realistic. I've got a duff back. It's crushed. So I go back to Catterick. I'm still in the Scots Guards. I'm put on codeine, tramadol. Mr. Boggie, or it was Guardsman Boggie back then. Guardsman Boggie were fully aware that he used to be a heroin addict. Unfortunately, the medication that we've got to offer you is opiate based. I'm sure you're aware of that. I says, yeah, I've been addicted to them before. Unfortunately, that's all there is. So I got my prescription for my codeines and my tramadols, go back to the barracks, sitting in my room, addictive personality. I was always greedy as an addict. Some things hadn't changed. I became abusive of my prescription drugs from the doctor. I was justifying it to myself in my own head because I'm in a lot of physical pain with this back injury. I can justify it to my family and my parents, friends, because they know of what I went through with the injury. So I'm justifying it, and I'm getting wasted on prescription medications. The spinal specialists tell me you're going to be on drugs for the rest of your life. The sooner you accept that, the better. I believed them. I became depressed. I started wallowing in self-pity again. And just wasn't a very nice place to be, Yvonne. I went full circle. I've been a drug addict. I turned my life around. I'm down Buckingham Palace. I've moved my life on. I'm doing these amazing things, traveling across the world. And now I'm stuck back in my flat in Edinburgh, getting wasted on drugs again. Why? What has happened? You know, and my mindset was not very good. I was wallowing every day, feeling sorry for myself. Best way to combat that, take more drugs. Ironic that, isn't it? So, you know, my addiction is getting worse. Then I moved over to Fife in the country. My wife's at her work. She comes in one day. She says, oh, see, this virus has hit, this COVID thing. We're going to be stuck in the house. You're not allowed to go out. And I was like, what? How long is that going to last? A couple of weeks. So I says, well, I'll write the book. So I got the book. I got all the paperwork out. I've been writing a lot of it during my recovery, a lot of it during my army time. And I sat for 3 days and 3 nights and wrote the book. I was sitting listening to Tom Walker. I'd never heard of Tom Walker before. I had him on Spotify. And as I was sitting finishing the book, Leave a Light On came on by Tom Walker. And I put it on repeat and I listened to it again. And I started listening to the lyrics and stuff. And I thought, I think I could leave a light on. And I'm going to donate. I'm going to donate all the money for the book to the homeless people in Scotland that are potentially going to die hypothermia, which angers me. And the year that we're in now, and that still happens. And I was like, I can make a difference here. So I know there's loads of homeless people with addiction issues, not them all, but I know there's lots with addiction issues. And I was like, I can really help these people. What these people need right now is a home. So maybe if I can sell enough copies of my book, in time I'll maybe be able to provide homes for some people anyway. And then sort of use my social media platform to maybe help addicts by sharing my story and let them know that just because you're a heroin addict right now, or an alcoholic right now, or whatever drugs right now, or struggling in any way right now, suicidal like what I was right now, there is a way that we can change our future, and it's not reliant on anybody else, which I often thought like, oh, it's my parents or the government or my friends or my work colleagues. It's up to them to change me and my mindset, and they're not doing it. So I'm going to always be this disheartened Paul Boggie that's depressed all the time. When I realised it was actually comes from within me, then if I can go on and change my life in such a way, I often say it, I'm not that special, that I'm the only human being on planet Earth that is able to do that. There's people all across the world that just don't believe in themselves. And if I can help these people to change their mindset, to have a little bit more belief and hope and inspire them, then that's what I'm going to do. So, and that's where I'm at. You know, I've raised just over £10,000 for homelessness in Scotland. I've sold 1,200 books. I'm making a documentary. I'm making a documentary about my life. I'm writing my second book at the moment. I have just finished co-writing a play for Edinburgh Fringe next year. The plan is to make a feature film in time. Visiting prisons across Scotland at the moment now as well, which I love. I was actually in Perth prison last week for the second time, and I'm going back very shortly because we are making an audiobook. I don't have an audiobook of one.
Yeah.
So I've got the paperback, it's on Amazon. I've also got the ebook, which is on Amazon. And I always wanted to do an audiobook because lots of people have asked me about an audiobook. So I was in visiting inmates in Perth for Recovery Week. And when I came home, I thanked them. They thanked me. It was amazing. They're thanking me for helping. I said, no, thank you for having me in. And I says, what do you think about this for an idea? Just wanted to put it to you. I don't have an audiobook. You've got that studio there. What about taking this book and getting the inmates to read a chapter each of this book and making it into an audiobook? Amazing idea. Can you come back in? So I went in last week and we started doing recording for the audiobook. Very emotional day. When I'm hearing these inmates sitting with the microphone and the headphones with my book, chapter 1, and they begin to read it, and I'm sitting listening to these guys reading my story. It really is very emotional.
So are you going to be doing any of the speaking through the book, or is it just the guys within Perth prison that's doing it, Paul?
So I done the prologue, and I also done the very last bit, which is goodbye, it's called. So I done the first bit and the last bit, and they recorded it. Then the governor came in to the room when I was sitting talking. I could tell because he's all suited and booted and stuff, right? So I just continued saying what I was saying about the mind and about things like that. He stood there listening, and then at the end I found out who he was. Is it vice governor? I'm not sure the technical term. He's one below. Jim, his name is. So he came in and he introduced himself, and I was like, pleased to meet you. He says, I've got your book on the desk. I've just not read it yet. And I just said, like I said to you before you started recording, shy burns, then I get no sweets. So I said to him, look, I says, we're recording this audiobook that's going to go out in the prison radio for 4 weeks every day. However, how would the prison feel about me being able to release it as an audiobook to be sold around the world to help raise money for homelessness in Scotland alongside the paperback and the ebook? That's amazing. That's an amazing idea. And I was like, serious? And he went, yeah, I didn't see any reason why not. And I says, I wasn't sure if there would be any legal implications and stuff. I says, well, to be fair, Paul, I'm going to have to check with the governor. We'll have to kick it upstairs just to double check, but I don't see any problem. So I'm still waiting out to hear Yvonne. If they've told me that if for whatever reason it can't be released publicly, they will get me back in and they'll help me do the audiobook, just me reading. But I stutter a lot, so I'm an editor's nightmare. But I think it was really amazing having all the inmates turning up, first of all, and then all saying, oh, Paul, I'd be honoured to read chapter 3. Can I read chapter 3 and chapter 7? And I'm like, yeah, of course, thank you. They're giving something back, and I've said to them, look, when you're out of here and you're on your social media and you come across Paul Boggie out in the streets of Scotland handing out stuff, I've raised £5,000 for the audiobook or £10,000 through the audiobook. That's something that you can all feel proud of, that you have played your part there to help these homeless people. So I asked their permission, and every single one of them said, yeah. If it's a go, then we're happy for it to go out to the public. So, that's where I'm at. Sorry, Yvonne, that is probably the quickest nutshell I've ever given my life in, because usually it goes on for about 2 hours, right? But so that's pretty much where I'm at in a nutshell.
That's amazing. And in terms of the audiobook, I love that idea as well, because for the people that are maybe dyslexic or have literacy issues, that leaves that open to them as well to get access to that, because inspiring stories shouldn't just be about people that can pick up a book and read it. They should be for people, for everybody, shouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And that was a lot of people that had reached out to me over the last year and a half since I released the paperback. You know, I've got reading difficulties. I can't read the book, Paul, but when you do an audiobook, let me know. So I know that there's a lot of people out there waiting on the audiobook. There's a lot of people actually that have bought the paperback that still want the audiobook, so that they, when they're out in the car or out walking or running, you know, they can listen to these audiobooks. So I'm super excited to get it finished. 7th of November is when it debuts, and it goes out across the whole of Perth prison for all the inmates for 4 weeks, twice a day. And then hopefully I hear from the governor. They've just, they're buying copies of the book for the prison library. I was in Stockton in Edinburgh. They bought 24 copies of my book for the library. I'm due to go back into Stockton as well. And then I've got other prisons across Scotland that I've been invited into as well. So I'm going to just keep travelling and helping the inmates. You know, it was something that I was never planned upon. Same in the play, writing the play, these things are never planned. But when people reach out to me on social media and say, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about coming into schools and talking to the kids about the dangers of drugs? Of course, I'm going to say yes. I want to help in any way that I can with my story. So whether it's rehab centres, schools, prisons, wherever it's needed, podcasts, you know, wherever the message needs to be for people to hear it and people to say, wait a minute, maybe there's hope for me. I can maybe change my life for the better. Then it's worth.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And people will see themselves, they can put themselves in your position, they can see themselves, or they can see a future for themselves, because your story will be so inspiring. Because often when people believe that that is them for the rest of their lives, or that's just their lives, or they're never going to get out of that, and they continue to believe that. So when you keep on having those thoughts, you're going to keep on attracting that into your future, into your life. Whereas if you can rewire your brain, as we talked about earlier, then it's about believing that anything's possible. And you hitting a very valid point earlier on about, like, often, and I've, as I say, I've worked in criminal justice for over 20 years, and often, and you know, that's understandable in a lot of ways, people will blame their environment, they'll blame the people that raised them, they'll blame the system, they'll blame the government, but it all starts from within. The only person that can change, you can get help from organisations, authorities, but the person that starts with is yourself, because if you're not motivated and committed to make those changes in your life, then you're not going to get very far. Can you tell me, now I know that you said that you went on a course about the mind, I think it was about the brain, subconscious, your thoughts and your beliefs. From this podcast interview, I'd like anyone listening to this to be able to get an understanding of what you did or what they can do that would really help them change their thoughts and change their future, that you thought that was really sort of a pivotal point in your life that you thought, right, I can change something here about my life.
Yeah, so I've become tired and sad through this life of addiction, and I relapsed 13 times. A lot of the times I'm relapsing and I'm crying at my mum and dad and telling them I promise this will be the last time, and it never happened. When I attended this course about the mind, actually, when I'm attending the course, I don't believe it initially, or so I thought. I didn't believe it. Here are these people telling me to be positive, to block out the negative, life's a choice, about this, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the creative subconscious mind, all these different parts of the mind and what they do and what their ability is and what my ability is. And I was like, nonsense. Like we just said, that's the government's fault and it's my parents' fault and everybody else's fault. And then something really just clicked 17 years ago on the 14th of May. It turned out what I was hearing on that course had sunk in. And it really was about the self-talk. The most important thing about self-talk is, as human beings, everybody's been self-talking their whole life, from your very first memories. When you go to a shop with your parents and they say, right, you can have one sweet. Whether you pick up a Mars bar or a Twix or a Snickers, you're having a little discussion in here with yourself, what one you want. That's self-talk, you know. And as you go through life, some people, world champion boxers, use self-talk. They visualize being world champion and that's it. But unfortunately, you know, if we start to self-talk in a negative way, that becomes very dangerous to our lives. And that's what I was doing. I was self-talking, I'm not very good, I'm not a nice person, I feel ashamed, and I'm living with that. So I do this course and it taps me into my own self-talk and how I use that self-talk. All I wanted was not to be a heroin addict. So I put my nose on the mirror. I looked at myself right in the eyes. I had all the drugs on the table. I had the heroin in my system from the night before. And I said, don't effing ask for heroin ever again because you're not getting it. Huge goosebumps. And I knew from that moment something was different. I knew that this inner self-talk that had given me this ability to choose works. Instantly, I knew it worked. And I hadn't even started cold turkey yet. And I'm already starting to dream about a future that I never thought I had. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get a girlfriend. I'm going to start putting weight on. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start this, and I'm going to, and instantly from that moment, my whole world changed because it was no longer about anybody else in life choosing on my behalf. It was about me having this ability just to choose. You know, and that's to anybody that's listening. You know, I've done that course about the mind, nothing to do with addiction whatsoever. And I say to people every day on social media, because they say, Paul, how did you get 17 years off the heroin? I've tried it and I've relapsed. I keep relapsing. My son relapses. My uncle relapses. How do you do it? And I say exactly what I'm going to say now. I worked on my mind and my mindset, and learned about my mind and how my mind was actually working, and applied it to my addiction issues, and I applied it to my family issues. I applied it to my work issues, my health issues, where I'd given myself this ability to not just say, I don't want heroin. I'd also given myself the ability to, I want to start eating again. I want to start exercising. It's a choice. I know it's a choice because I've just stopped heroin and I feel amazing for it. So I'm going to not stop there. I want to join the army. You know, I want to become an author. I want to help homeless, you know, all these things that I'm self-talking now, obviously in a positive way. And I've been doing that for all those years. And everybody that's watching this that is struggling in that similar way, they have to understand that they can have that as well. You know, everybody can have it. It has to come from within us to work out about our own minds. You can speak to as many psychologists in the world as you want. But if you're lying to the psychologist about what's really going on, and you're maybe telling them what you think they want to hear, or you're only giving them 40% of what's really going on. And that other 60% you're keeping and living with every day. And you're beating yourself up every day because of that 60% that nobody knows about. You know, that 60% of negativity banging around in your head, it's going to keep you in the sad, depressed place that you are. And unfortunately, drugs work. That's the reality. You know, is that the reason why drugs and alcohol are so rife, addictions are so rife across the world, is because when we're in a dark place and we've lived a traumatic life, or we're going through traumatic things right now, or sad or angry or anxious, when you take drugs short term, they take those feelings away. The feelings of fear, and it takes that away. So it's no surprise to me why there's so many addicts across the world. It's no surprise to me why so many addicts relapse across the world. I understand that as well. But certainly the drugs do work. Richard Ashcroft of the Verve got it wrong. Drugs do work. And that's the unfortunate thing, is when, as human beings, if we've had a traumatic life and we start taking drugs, heroin, alcohol, cocaine, Valium, whatever it is, and it takes us that, gives us that mind-altering experience where we're no longer in that dark place, it feels nice. So then when we become that way again, in that sort of negative mindset, or sad or angry, is it any surprise that we know heroin works? So you want to take heroin again? Oh, that's nice. Then what happens is you build up an addiction. And this is, you know, so you keep going back, you build the addiction, addictions get worse. You try and stop, and then you realise it's not as easy to stop as just stop taking drugs, which is what society says. Just stop taking drugs. Just stop drinking. Addiction is not a physical problem. Addiction is a mental health problem. And that's what society doesn't understand. People who have not suffered with addiction problems think it is just a case, stop taking drugs, go through the cold turkey, come out the other end, everything's amazing, everything's good. What they don't understand is that people use drugs to escape a reality that they don't want to face. And when you ask these people to stop drinking or stop taking heroin or anything, when they do that, they've got all these problems that they now have to face without the crutch of the drug. Everything becomes real. And of course, you're going to get fear, anxiety, a whole host of emotions. So it's, you know, it's not as clean cut as just stop taking drugs. Sorry, I'm going on again, but I'm sorry.
No, do you know what, Paul? It's fine, because again, anyone in this situation will be able to identify with what you're saying, and anyone that hasn't been in that situation will not understand that. So the best people to speak to is the people that have been through that and have come through the other side. And doesn't it just show you how powerful the mindset is, the subconscious mind? And as I said before, I, as well as working in criminal justice, I do hypnotherapy and stuff. And so I've learned a lot about that, and about those things that we continue to tell ourselves that you said earlier on about our upbringing. And it can range from trauma to someone, your parents maybe just telling you off or something, or a repeat of circumstances, or your teacher saying that you're not good enough, or all those kind of negative things that are told to you throughout your life. And we generally form our beliefs from the age of 0 to 7. And it's our caregivers or the adults in our lives generally that you believe, because obviously you are vulnerable and you don't know any better really when you're a child. So you soak up all this information, and then it gets stored in this library in your subconscious mind. And 90% of our thoughts come from the subconscious mind, not the conscious mind. And doesn't it just show how absolutely powerful it can be? And that example that you gave about looking in your mirror, like you are your best, you're the best person to give yourself advice and support yourself. You look in the mirror, that's such a powerful thing to do. look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, and you say you got goosebumps. I mean, I often say, like I generally work with women, I often say, look in the mirror, speak to yourself in the mirror. It's hard to do sometimes because we're not used to doing that. And give them affirmations, get up in the morning. I do sort of vision board work, and which again is what you were talking about, looking at the future. This is who I'm going to be in the future. That's all the things that you did. I'm not going to be that person anymore because that was your identity. It doesn't have to be your identity anymore. It doesn't mean to say your personality is changing, but your identity and who you believe yourself to be can absolutely change when you start saying, I am worthy. I should be allowed to do this. I have got these talents, I have got these abilities, and I can do whatever I want. And I can make whatever changes in my life that I want. And that
I can.
so powerful.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like, that's where it all stems from. It's like you said, it's a whole lifetime of not understanding that everything that you've went through in life has brought you to where we are right now. And all these things, you know, I was bullied in primary school. That's affected me my whole life, but I didn't even realise that it was affecting me my whole life. I was bullied in my very first job as a baker when I was 16. That affected me my whole life. I never realised that that was even affecting me my whole life. I never realised that these things that have happened throughout my life have made me into the person that I had become. And these memories that I have of myself as a young boy, as a young lad, a teenager, an early adult, or on heroin, or, you know, all these memories of past, it is who I am. Lots of them didn't make me feel not very good about myself, and quite thinking, if I allowed that to dictate my future, I'm not going to get anywhere. It's like driving in a car. If I'm driving along the street, I didn't sit looking in the rear view mirror driving along the car, because I'm going to crash. You know, I'm constantly sitting looking in the rear view. Oh, you were a heroin addict. Oh, look, you got bullied. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I'm going to crash. If I didn't look at the road ahead and where it is that I'm wanting to actually go, then I'm never going to get anywhere. And that's where that whole self-belief thing comes in. It's not easy for addicts, especially, to grasp that possibility and that idea of change. I understand that, but I was that person that didn't believe. When I'm on drugs and I'm attending this course, I did not believe. 100% thought it was BS. Didn't believe it. What happened was it planted a seed in my mind that I did not realise. And then when I looked in the mirror and I realised it was actually the truth, what these people were trying to teach me, and then I ran with it, literally. I ran with it and I went with it. And that's what I'm trying to do on social media now, is sharing what I've learned. I've got the folder there that I work out sometimes. I sometimes do bits of the book. I do videos on methadone use, heroin use, prescription medication use, cannabis use. And it's planting seeds. I feel like a bit like a farmer at times, because, you know, all these people come onto my social media, all battling their own demons and stuff. And if I'm on doing a live video and I'm talking to people about the ability to change comes from you, not from me, not from it comes from you. I'm not going to reach everyone, but some people, I can plant seeds in their minds that maybe one day, maybe not today, because when I done that course of On, it was not an instant, oh, that's gospel, that's it now, that's definitely. It took a little bit of time for that seed to sink into my mind, for me to really think about myself. So if I can do that for other people, and when the time comes for those people, I think, I've got a mirror in the bathroom. I remember Paul talking about looking straight in his eyes in the mirror and saying, don't effing ask for heroin ever again. Is that true what Paul's saying? That it's a choice. that I didn't have to be a heroin. Is that true? I'm going to try it. And if he or she gets up off their backsides and walks through into the bathroom and at least tries it, who knows? Like, they may see something in themselves that they did not otherwise believe was ever there. They might get goosebumps and they might, do you know what? I've had enough. I've had enough of being spat on by society, called a junkie here and a druggie there and this and that, alky this. And, you know, I've had enough of that now. I'm changing my life and I'm doing it for me, myself, and I'm going to do it. And, you know, so I'll keep doing what I'm doing, Yvonne, and I will help people. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they are. But I know that I'm helping by what I'm doing, and that helps my mental health.
Amazing. And do you know what? Anyone that needs to find you will. And I mean that in a way that if people are desperate or people have had enough in their life that they think that this is it, I can't actually go on like this, then it's amazing where people will be able to find you. And I mean that in terms of, like, and I do lots of spiritual stuff as well. So it's like things come at the right time. You find things, you read things, and it's like, wow, I'm going to listen to this. And that one of those things could be about listening to my podcast. And if I'm sharing this, if you're sharing this, then it's when someone can hear that, and if you can help one person at least, then your job's done. But you've actually helped lots and lots of people already, and that's quite evident with your visits to the prisons and etc. So I thank you so much for coming on today. I've really enjoyed the talk. I've loved what you've had to say, and I really hope that this helps other people believe that anything's possible. And you know, if you've got the ability, if you've got the motivation and the commitment and the resilience, then you can do anything that you want. So I will put a link to your book for anyone that wants to buy it, and a link to your Facebook group, and anyone can get in touch with you if they want to. There'll be a little description about you and a little bit about where you've come from, how you've got to where you are as well. So thanks again, Paul, for your time today, and I wish you all the best for the future. I can't wait to hear how you progress. I can't wait to hear about the play, and who knows, there might be a movie. So all the best, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.